In this video, I'll tell you about the 3 different times you should think about stopping in wargaming and the wargaming hobby, and the one time when you absolutely shouldn't. Sometimes it's hard to know when to stop, whether it's like when to stop talking, or when to stop a relationship, or, when to stop eating potato chips. I think it was Shakespeare who said that once you pop, you can't stop. Definitely Shakespeare. But not knowing when to stop is something many people wrestle with. And when you don't know when to stop, then you can end up wasting time and effort in your life when you could spend that time and effort elsewhere. I'm old enough to have gone through some things, so I want to help you to know when to stop, in wargaming at least. We've all stuck with a path or a plan at some point in life, and later, in hindsight, we've looked back and realized that we probably stuck with it too long. Usually, when that happens, the downside is wasted time, wasted effort, wasted emotions, wasted money, like pretty much just waste. So I'm going to share with you 3 times I finally learned to stop with wargaming and the miniatures hobby, and then also the one time that I learned to not stop. That was probably one of the best lessons I learned in the hobby. You should stop when you don't enjoy playing a specific wargame anymore. Now, hopefully you play more than just like one wargame on a regular, semi-regular basis or whatever. I'm not saying that you need to play dozens of game systems or anything like that, but hopefully you're at least a little bit diversified, right? And let's say that while you still love playing wargames, there's just this one that comes up in your rotation of games that you find that you just really do not enjoy. Like maybe you find the lore stupid, or you find the models ugly, like if it uses specific models, for example. Or maybe you just really don't enjoy the rule set. That happens to me a lot. Heck, it might even be like the local people that you play this game with that cause the problem for you. Whatever it is, I'd tell you to start by changing some things up, right? Like maybe try playing with different opponents. Perhaps it's not the game at all, but instead it's the people. You could also change up your play style, your force list, your army list, or whatever. Without investing in a whole new army or warband or whatever, use what you've got and use it differently. Move some things around and change up the way that your force works, right? Maybe you're just stuck in a rut with the list that you've been playing, so change it up. If that's not it, then see if you can swap armies with a friend for a few games and see if that does the trick. If none of these things work and this game still bothers you and you don't enjoy playing it, after all, games are supposed to be fun, that's kind of the point, then maybe the specific game just isn't for you. Now that said, you could change things up within the same game if there just was like a specific part you didn't enjoy, like I said. Like if you love the lore, but you hate the rules, then try a different game system with your friends, but still use like the same lore and the models that you love. I've seen tons of folks switching over to one-page rules for their, for the rules or whatever, but sticking with their 40K models and the 40K lore and all that kind of stuff as an example. Maybe you feel like you've already invested so much into a specific game, you feel like you can't stop playing it because then that time and effort will be wasted that you spent on the game, right? That's basically what they call a sunk cost fallacy, and it's pretty much never something that you should worry about in wargaming. If you decide to stop playing a specific game that you don't enjoy, you could move your models over to some other miniature agnostic game, or maybe just store them somewhere, like in a box under your bed or in your closet or your basement or whatever, until that specific game comes out with a new edition that you prefer, you prefer those rules a little bit more. Or heck, you could even just sell them. If you've tried to change up the way you play or the people you play with or the models or whatever, and you're not bogged down with the whole sunk cost thing, then just stop playing that game. Play some of the other games that you like. It'll be fine. And if you only just play the one game and it turns out to be the one that you don't enjoy, then it's time to start spreading your wings and trying some other titles. Find rules that will let you use your current models, if that wasn't the problem in the first place, of course, and then try that game with those models instead. Stop that one game that you don't like, but definitely try something else. Another good time to stop: when you've been in build mode or 3D print mode for too long. If you've been in this hobby for any amount of time, then you've probably tried to build an army, or maybe even just like a war band or something like that for a skirmish game. And of course, you started building, right? Like hopefully after you've kind of like crafted a list for your group using the rules and the points and all that kind of stuff. But either way, everyone knows you usually got to build before you can paint. Unless you paint on the sprue, I guess. I've got no advice for that kind of madness. Let's say that you're building an army. It can take a really long time to do something like that, especially if it's a big army game like, most Warhammer games. And the models can each be a whole lot of little pieces, like most Warhammer models. So you can be like looking down the barrel of a whole lot of build time when you decide you want to like make a new army or whatever like that, and looking at piles and piles of sprues and like so much clipping and gluing. And sometimes that can just be really demotivating. It can be a slog, and it'll seem like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes when you're in that tunnel, you got to make your own light. When you get really tired of building, you need to stop and start painting. This happens more so in army games in comparison to like skirmish games, right? Just because army games have so many more models involved. However, even a skirmish warband of like 10 models can seem like a big ask when you're building like model number 7 and there's still hours and hours ahead of you, right? Like if you get discouraged in build mode, then you need to stop building and switch over to painting. You might think it best to like build until the entire group is finished, but not if you're losing hobby momentum. This is especially true in bigger army games. Deciding to build an entire army of 40 or 60 or 100 models or more can really put you in a mindset that you'll never actually finish all these models. And even if you do finally finish building all those models, then there's a pretty good possibility that you will be all hobbied out and just start playing with your gray plastic army and maybe never actually paint them. You've fought through the ordeal of building all those models for this army, and now you have to paint them too? I mean, it can be pretty difficult. Therefore, I'd tell you to know when to stop with your build mode on a project, whether big or small. Even if you're just making a skirmish warband of like 6 models, you still might only want to build 3 models and then stop. Switch modes and then paint those 3 models, right? Like once you're done, then you can go back and build the other 3 models and then paint those, and then you'll be finished. For me, I find that I could easily build up to 10 models before switching to paint mode, but you need to know your numbers so you properly know when to stop. Also, 3D printing. It can be very easy to print terrain piece after terrain piece after terrain piece and make buildings and ruins and whatever with your FDM printer. You basically set it and forget it, right? Like I built up a huge backlog of printed terrain last fall, and then I found that I had so much I didn't know what to paint first. Even after I primed a whole bunch of it, I still kept printing. But I finally needed to stop because I wasn't doing much more than filling my basement with unpainted terrain pieces. I learned to stop and then start priming and then, painting. You can always print more later on. And here's a tough one that a lot of folks don't want to think about. You should stop if you're honestly concerned that wargaming and the miniatures hobby just aren't for you. If you find that you're just not enjoying playing any games, not just specific titles, and you aren't enjoying the building and the painting and all that stuff either, maybe the hobby just isn't for you. Now, on the other hand, maybe it's just burnout. That happens, right? It might be something temporary, something you'll get over. But it's best to stop and at least take a break and see how things go. Maybe you'll just take a little break for a bit and then, find out that you do actually miss it. Then, maybe it was just actually burnout, and therefore you can easily get back in rejuvenated and rip-raring to go, right? But you also might find out that later, maybe months later, maybe years later, that you still don't miss it. You've moved on to something that you enjoy more, and you're spending time doing that. And that's okay. It's better to take a break and learn it wasn't just a break than to continue on not enjoying it just because you think that this is your hobby. Maybe it's not. And lastly, a time when you shouldn't stop. When you're not getting better at building and painting or even playing war games. I hear from folks all the time that say that they're stuck at like a level of painting quality and they're not getting better, and it's disheartening. Or they play and they play and they play, but they just aren't winning games very much. Well, I can definitely tell you one thing which won't help to make you a better painter or gamer: stopping. That won't help at all. If you still enjoy it, but you think that you've maybe stalled out, you need to keep going. Progress is different for all kinds of people, and even different parts of the journey can move at different speeds for a single person's, wargaming or hobby journey. This is all normal. Maybe you saw great advances once you figured out dry brushing, but now you feel like you haven't made any new kind of big leaps in quality since then. However, maybe you've increased your speed in how many things you can get done without even realizing it. Pachow. And that's still a great advancement for getting things done. However you slice it, it's better to continue painting or playing if you enjoy it and you want to get better. Sometimes it is important to stop, even if it's just for a short break, to see how you feel about it, right? Learning what is just simple burnout and what is an actual dislike for a hobby like wargaming and wargaming miniatures is important for how you spend your time and money going forward. You have a limit to both of those things. I love this hobby and think that it'd be great for a lot of people out there, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, right? If you're thinking that maybe you're just not enjoying your hobby, then stop now, take a break, right? And then see what you think a little bit later. But don't stop practicing if you enjoy it, but don't think you're improving. You will. Do you know when to stop? Have you ever taken a break in a hobby that actually just was a break and then you got back to it, again later? Or was it an actual stop that you needed to do? Let us all know down in the comments below. And if you liked this video, then please don't stop with the depressmentation of the like button down there as well. It helps the channel, and I appreciate it also. And lastly, subscribe if you want to see videos like this every single week. It's free. Thanks for watching. Very dry.